Hey folks, this is Kalani. Now, I've been asked quite a lot, what is there to do in Guild Wars? Now, most of this is actually aimed at endgame and when you hit 80, what can we do at level 80? What is the endgame like? And my usual response is, there isn't one. There is no specific thing that you can do at level 80 which you cannot already do throughout the game. The main thing here is that people are not seeing what they can do.
That was quite helpful.
Damn Asura. They just don't see the potential for what this game is giving them. Essentially, you have been given a world and you have been told to have fun. If you can't find that fun, then I feel sorry for you. I really do. Because this game has so much potential. But to give an answer to what you can do at level 80, well, there's a few things. First, you can look towards world completion. Now, you can get 100% world completion by getting every renown heart, every waypoint, every point of interest, every skill challenge, and every vista. Now, that might seem like an easy feat. I would disagree. Some of these zones take a long time, a very long time to complete. Some of them are not too bad. You've got your starting areas like Caledon Forest and Queensdale, Ashford, or Plains of Ashford rather. They might not take too long, not too bad. But when you get up to things like Malka's Leap and Cursed Shore, some of the vistas there take quite a while. The only thing that won't actually take your time down there is the renown hearts, because there aren't any. But when you get to places like Frostgorge Sound, you've got your hearts, you've got your points of interest, skill challenges, and your vistas. So that takes quite a long time. Outside of this world is obviously your PvP world. So, as well as the PvE world or Tyria, you've got the battlegrounds. Now, the battlegrounds have their own vistas, waypoints, points of interest, and skill challenges. So you need to clear out the entirety of World v World as well. So you've also got your structured PvP area, the Heart of the Mists. Now you've got your 3 renown hearts in the starter area, as well as your waypoints and points of interest in the lobby itself. Not sure if these count, but I'm assuming they do. So, if getting out and seeing the world isn't your thing, you've also got your personal story. Now you can see your progress on your personal story on your hero tab. Now, you can see I'm not quite finished with mine. I'm on level 72, and obviously this goes up to 80 where you finally defeat Zaitan. Spoiler. We all saw it coming. So, you can finish your personal story. Now, this is actually quite important because this is your character. If you obviously don't care about your character, then this isn't going to be as important to you. But if you do care about your character, you're going to have to finish your story. So, if you have been a bit behind, like I was, this is one thing that you can do at 80. Obviously, you might have already done this. Getting to 80, you see, this is what I mean by things not exactly being 80 specific. So, personal story. But if the leveling has gotten you a little tired of player versus environment, then you can take your weapons, sharpen them a little bit, and go see if you can kill a few players. Now, Guild Wars has 2 player versus player. Just kill a little char, it is excellent. It's always fun when friends show up. But either way, you've got your structured PvP, which is relatively similar in all its little differentiations. Essentially, it's King of the Hill. So you've got your little map, you've got your 3 points, and as you control each point, you get a certain amount of points. First to 500 wins, there's also different ways to get your little points. You get points per player kill, 5 points per player kill, and there are, in some of the maps, there are like jungle creeps, if anybody is familiar with the MOBA style of play. And they'll actually give their own buffs, and you'll get good things for doing those as well. But this is completely separate from PvE, so you get all your traits, etc. They're all new. They're all spanky fresh, and you get a different set of gear. It's pretty much a different character, more or less. So once again, this isn't limited just to 80. But you know, it's fun. It's a nice break from PvE. Boom! Now, structured PvP uses its own currency, and this is glory. You use this to rank up, you use this to buy new things, and yeah, that's pretty much what you'll be going for. But as I said, this is completely different from your Tyria or PvE character. So you have different gear, you have different weapons, you have different traits. You know, all that good stuff. So if you still want to smash some skulls, but structured PvP either isn't a thing for you, or you want to be having some fun with the character you've leveled up, that's where World v World comes in. So in World v World, you've got a few choices. You can go into someone else's borderlands, you can go into your own borderlands and try and defend all your good shizzle, or you can actually go into Eternal Battlegrounds. Now, Eternal Battlegrounds is basically just a few more points. Borderlands is where I have my fun. But usually this is an epic battle. It obviously depends what realms you're against. You'll be pitted against 2 realms. And if you get something like Desolation, you're probably not going to have much fun.
What do you need?
Desolation definitely seems to be the place to be if you want to be dominating in World v World. A lot of the people there are solely playing Guild Wars just for the World v World PvP, so you know, it depends on who you're against. Some servers also have 0 like presence. There's some realms that you can come against which they just aren't there. But yeah, World v World. The main thing about World v World is that it does take quite a long time to get into it. You can... It's really awkward to describe because it's World v World. You know, if you haven't been there, you're not going to understand it. But it's amazing. It really is. You've got your forts, you've got your garrisons. Oh, it's so good. Essentially, it's a massive battle where you fight over supplies, supply routes, castles and forts to defend, and orbs of power. Now, when you get orbs of power, you gain an orb bonus, 5% more health and 50 points to all stats for each orb, and you can own up to 3. If we have... Can we... yeah, we can. You see that there is an orb in that fort. Can we find the other orbs? Yeah, there's an orb. And I'm guessing, yeah, they have the last one. So, looks like 1 orb each. Yeah. As I was saying, World v World does take quite a long time to get into. But it's worth it. It really is worth it. You'll end up spending so much time here that you'll just lose track of time, if I'm perfectly honest. Maybe a little dangerous if you need to, you know, keep the playing a little low, but never mind. It's one thing to do when you hit 80. One thing about this is that while everyone is scaled up to 80, not everyone gets a full set of traits. And obviously not everyone's gear scales the same, because someone in full blues is not going to have the same stats as someone in full exotics. So if you are a level 80, If you do have all your traits, all your slot skills and your elite skills, then you're probably gonna be dominating a little bit, just a little bit. But if PvP's not for you, you can always work on character progression. So, when I'm talking about character progression, I mean things like how your character looks to an outsider, so titles, armor, weapons, all that good stuff. You can check any achievement titles that you can get in the achievements tab. Now, you could go for full completionist and rank up those points. Or you could go for specific ones, like, I know, tradesman, crafting disciplines mastered 6. When you get all of them mastered, you get a title Master Crafter. You can tell all those folks, yo, I'm a pro. I can do anything you want. Just give me a tip and bring me the items. Make you anything. And there you go. Title, character progression. So, one thing about that also is the crafting. If you haven't leveled up your crafting at all, I completely recommend it. The crafting in this game is unbelievable. It gets to the point where, cooking's the most dangerous one for this, because you're just throwing everything in there to see what you can create. It's brilliant. I really cannot fault the crafting system at all, especially considering the fact that you can craft from your collectibles and bank now. You don't have to have the bag space to hold all of these cooking materials, all of these materials for a weapon. You can just have them in your collectibles and bank, and you can craft it from there. It's excellent. It's brilliant. I love it. So you got your crafting. Now remember that there are 8 crafts. If you don't have one, why not? It's a chance to make more profit on trading post. It's a chance to make gear for an ult. It's a chance to create the gifts, which are going to be very important when it comes to legendaries. Those legendaries, if you really want to stand out, you can work your way towards one of those, because let's be honest, we all want to be special little snowflakes. Now, some of the legendaries will take you a considerable amount of time to even start to see the results of. There's a few numbers being thrown around, and with something like these are all estimated numbers for the amount of materials required, etc, etc, etc. But it would take you about 40 days if you were farming 12 hours a day and got 50 karma a day to gain, I think it was Twilight, which is apparently like the hardest one to get or something. So, it's going to take you a considerable amount of time. First you got to learn how the hell to get it, then you got to get the pieces for it, and then you've actually got to put it together. So, that seems to be the highest tier of special snowflakiness that you would be able to achieve with character progression. But you could always go further. Always go further. The aesthetics of your character are essentially what you're going to be working towards with this sort of progression path. So, either way, that's up to you. If you want to do that, happy fun dally. If you don't, no big deal. So aside from everything else, you could just go farming. Now, whether you're farming metals, or farming woods, farming for herbs, or just farming monsters for specific fine crafting materials. Farming is farming. You can do whatever you want with the materials that you are farming. You could use them to level your crafting. You could put them on the trading post. You could hoard them like someone who has a problem. Or you could give them to friends, if you are feeling super nice. But, as I say, you can use them to crafting, to turn a profit. You can ectoplasm shuffle. You can just throw them on the trading post raw if you don't want to wait for a quick profit. Your choice. So moving on from the farming, you could actually start playing the trading post. Now, if you got a dab hand in economics or just know a little bit about money, then you can make a considerable amount if you have the right assets. I know currently a couple profitable things I could do with jeweler and armorsmith. I also know an ectoplasm shuffle which isn't too risky in weaponsmithing. You know, I could buy these items up nice and cheaply on the trading posts, do whatever I do with them, and then sell them for a profit. Playing the trading post is always going to be the highest profit that you'll ever get, so if you like that kind of thing, you can always have some fun with the trading post. Once again, you don't need to be 80 to do that. You see a little pattern evolving, you know, it's the game. You need to get this out of your head, folks. You need to get it out of your head. But I'll continue either way. So, one thing that is level dependent, but not 80 dependent, I suppose, is your dungeons. Now, if you haven't had a look at some of these, I would definitely recommend it. Not only is there some vital story points in some of these, and as that goes up in level, the story progresses with the overall story, you know, of Zaitan, that guy. So, you start off with Ascalonian catacombs and you work your way up, eventually getting to Ara. Now, if you follow the lore of any of these dungeons, it actually gets quite interesting. I mean, Ara was the city of the human gods. Yeah, and then shit hit the fan and everything went to the crapper. But you know, there's a dragon there now. You can happily go kill a dragon. But joking aside, the dungeons are pretty good. I mean, if you haven't been into one yet, they have a story mode and then an explorable mode. The story mode is obviously the story of the dungeon and the initial entrance going in there, etc. And then you can actually go back, usually at a higher level, and basically see what's happening. For example, in Citadel of Flame, the story mode going through it, spoiler alert, you're attempting to stop someone who's trying to become a fire god of some sort. But when you go back into explorable mode, essentially the first little section of the dungeon has been taken over by friendlies, and you can then go help I think it's four different pathways, or you know, 4 different NPCs that you can help, which would take you through different paths through the explorable dungeon. So you can go back in and do a completely different path and get a completely different experience from going in the first time, if you follow. So essentially there are 4 extra little dungeons inside an explorable dungeon. Not bad. It takes quite a while to clear them out as well, and if you go in there and try to like roll your face across your keyboard, you're gonna die, and you're gonna die horrifically. So some of those do actually require you to be on the ball, which is awesome, really. Obviously it's not so great if you get someone in your group who isn't pulling their weight, but I'm sure you can work that out one way or another. There's usually 2 options there. I won't describe them in great detail, but you've got your 2 options. So your dungeons, I would recommend at least going through the story modes, because some of them are pretty awesome. I mean, I'm not gonna give you many spoilers, because let's face it, the reason you go in is to see what happens. If I tell you what happens, that's half the reason not to go. So, dungeons, do it. So, there are plenty of things to do in this game. Please stop thinking of this as any other game but Guild Wars 2. Don't even try and compare it. They are not the same game. If you get past that point and you actually start to look for something to do, and you start actually realising how big this world we've been given is, and the potential for what we can do in it, it's amazing. We have been given this glorious world and been told to have fun. Please have fun. I mean, if you're still struggling for things to do, I'll post a couple things in the description below, which, 80 things to do at level 80, blah de blah de blah, some of which are usually the same, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, I just hope that A, this has given you a different outlook if you were thinking, oh, well, I've got nothing to do. Or B, it's got you even more pumped up to get something done. I would definitely hate for this game to go any way of the previous MMOs which have come out in the last couple of years. I know it's not going to, because this game is just too awesome to go that way, but you know, a game's nothing without its player base. So be that awesome player base that we need, and Guild Wars 2 will flourish. Flourish amazingly. I apologise. So once again, thanks for watching. Any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. Hi folks, this is Kelani. A few people were asking me how I go about making my gold. Now, while I'll keep a few of my little things a wee bit secret, because obviously if everyone's doing them, they will no longer